I hope you enjoy the following class. Do realize all of these video classes are based on what I teach at Silicon Dojo here in Asheville, North Carolina. These are free to the end user, hands-on technology classes where basically you just sign up, you show up, and you get to learn technology. I will remind you that free to the end user is not actually free. All of this stuff costs me a shocking amount of money. So if you would like to support the educational programs that I am creating, the education that I deliver, please think about clicking on the donor box link down below and throwing a couple of dollars in for the cause. I hope you enjoy this class, and more importantly, I hope to see you at Silicon Dojo sometime in the future. Welcome back. As you know, I am Eli, the computer guy, and in today's class, we are going to use ChatGPT in order to scrape websites. So I think scraping websites using ChatGPT is the perfect skill to determine whether somebody is actually a technology professional or if somebody really is an imposter. Sometimes it's not a syndrome, if it's true. That's mean, but it is true in our industry. Anyways, one of the interesting things that I find when people talk about ChatGPT, they talk about large language models and they talk about quote unquote artificial intelligence, is this idea of just have AI do it, right? How many technology professionals that are currently watching this video have heard people go on ad nauseum about how AI is going to take over everything and AI is just going to do X, Y, or Z, right? And that's really easy to say. If you're not the one that has to design the system, if you're not the one that has to implement the system, if you're not the one that has to maintain the system, it is easy to say, quote unquote, just have AI do it, just have ChatGPT do it. The problem that you run into in the real world of technology is ChatGPT is an incredibly powerful tool. And again, for anybody who's watched my videos, you do know I have been snarky on this whole concept of artificial intelligence. I talk about ChatGPT and LLMs, and I almost always say quote unquote AI because they are quote unquote AI. Just because The Verge says it's artificial intelligence, don't make it so. But the important thing to understand with that is when I'm saying that, that is simply for you folks to understand more of what's going on and not expect more out of these systems than they can provide, right? ChatGPT and large language models in general are incredibly powerful tools. They're incredibly useful tools. Yes, they will make doing a lot of things in the technology world a hell of a lot easier, but they are a tool. They are a resources. You have a system that's this big, and out of that system, this much of it should be ChatGPT, right? There is a lot more that goes into building these systems than just duct taping some quote-unquote artificial intelligence onto it and then saying, go ChatGPT, you solve the problem. And so this becomes very relevant when we start talking about web scraping, because web scraping seems like something that ChatGPT would be absolutely perfect for, right? Just give it a website, make a prompt, basically make a request, and have ChatGPT give you a response, right? Give it a website and say, what is the summary of this website? Give it a website, say, what are the tags in this website? Or what are like the proper nouns, names, products, that type of thing. Give it a website and say, what is the semantic analysis, right? Is it a positive article or is it a negative article, right? Just feed it the website. But the problem when you run into, and I'm going to show it to you in a moment, is when you just feed it the website, it gets to be very expensive very quickly. And if you don't understand what's actually occurring, you might be feeding it a lot of information that you don't realize you're feeding it. And therefore, the responses that you'll get are not necessarily what you're going to be expecting. So today we're going to be using Python. Again, just ChatGPT, right? Just have AI. Well, in order to just have AI do something, we're going to be using the API. Right, so we're going to be using the Python programming language. With that, we have the OpenAI module installed onto our computer. We're also going to be using something called Beautiful Soup. So Beautiful Soup is actually going to extract text from web pages for us to basically pre-process the web page before we send the information to ChatGPT. And then we will send the information to ChatGPT, get the response back, and I will show you how all this works. So that's a basic understanding of kind of what we're going to be doing today and why it's important. The other thing too is, again, we're going to be using the API, the application programming interface. So this is how you can use code to interact with ChatGPT. Many times when people talk about ChatGPT, especially the normies, right? They're talking about using the platform, right? You log in, you get a little text box, you type in the text box, and then information starts popping up on the screen, right? That's the platform. That is fine for the normies. You a normie, use that all day long. What we're using is the API. So what this is basically where our code directly communicates with their infrastructure, makes a request, and then we get what's called a JSON response back, basically a data response back, and then from that response, we're able to do something. So again, we're not using the normal interface today. You know, that's for the normie folks. But anyways, I think this is going to be a really cool class, and it's some really interesting concepts to be thinking about, especially, again, when you get into the whole AI world. Warning, Will Robinson, warning. Okay, so what I'm going to be showing you how to do today, we're going to be using an article from Ars Technica, right? So if we're going to be doing website scraping, we're going to be scraping websites. And here's the thing, in the real world, we're most likely going to be scraping somebody else's website. Engadget, Gizmodo, Intel.com, they have a blog. I don't know. Most likely, if you're going to be using this, you're going to be scraping somebody else's website. Well, here's the interesting thing about things like artificial intelligence. When a technology is brand new, nobody really knows the laws and the regulations and how the courts will decide things going into the future. So what you are legally allowed to do and what you're legally not allowed to do is a massive question mark. Do realize with copyright. So I know this video is going to go onto YouTube. It's going to get broadcast right on the internet. And one of the interesting things is YouTubers really like to declare the concept of fair use, right? How many YouTubers have you seen? What fair use is. Here's the thing. Go to the Copyright Office. The Copyright Office actually has a website. Literally on the front of the website, what it will say is it'll explain a little bit about the concept of fair use, but even the Copyright Office states that none of this is set in stone, set in law, until two parties go to court. Right? So all of these people out there that are espousing what fair use actually is, do realize in any situation, until you go to court in the United States and the judge makes a decision, you don't actually know what you're allowed or not allowed to do. The other thing to realize is, again, I'm in the United States. The United States, again, our First Amendment, our free speech laws, things like fair use, these are pretty sacrosanct, right? We try to protect them quite a bit. One of the important things to understand, though, is if you're in a different country, if you're in India, if you're in Pakistan, if you're in many of the countries of Europe, the UK, you want to talk about some draconian speech laws? Look at the United Kingdom right now. If you put what I'm showing you today into a production environment, you need to understand the laws and the rules of the road for wherever the hell you are. And if you're not sure what they are, you need to make sure you have a bank account that's big enough to be able to go to court, right? Because if you look at a lot of web pages, again, Ars Technica is owned by Condé Nast. Some of these other sites are owned by these major publishers, and you'll see, like down at the bottom, it will say, you know, not authorized for AI use, and they'll have a whole bunch of stuff down there, which again sounds very legal. So, it's not legal to do this. It's like, well, just because they write that there also doesn't make it so. Just because a YouTuber says something is fair use doesn't mean it is fair use. And just because Condé Nast puts a little something down in the footer saying it's illegal to use this other than X, Y, or Z reasons also doesn't mean that's true. So that's where I would say, like with what I'm showing you today, again, when you're using it at home, when you're not making any money, when you're not really doing anything with what I'm showing you today, you should be absolutely fine. I hope you're fine. I hope I'm fine. You should be fine. We're doing this at home. What I want you to be thinking about, though, again, if you are a professional and if you're thinking about pushing this into a production environment, again, some kind of website or web platform that you might actually start implementing this at scale as hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of users are using whatever you create, do realize there may be some very, very, very severe legal issues with that, that even if you win, and again, to be clear, something to understand about the US legal system, one of the things that's very not good, let's just say not good about it, is you can win after you've gone bankrupt, spending a couple of $100,000 defending yourself in court. It's like, yay, I won. Now I can keep doing what I'm doing from a cardboard box. Again, not saying it's good, not saying it's right. It is true though. So do be thinking about this if you're going to be scraping other people's websites. If you're going to be scraping your own documentation, your own website, you should be fine. But again, when we talk about scraping other people's websites, there really may be an issue. Now, the next thing to remind you, if you've been following along with the other classes, or talk about if you haven't been following along with the classes, is to remember the models and the different prices, right? So now again, I'm doing this video, this class in 2023. So the standard models people are going to be using are either ChatGPT 4 or ChatGPT 3.5 Turbo. Now, again, if you're listening to the normies, or you're listening to the startup companies that have hundreds of millions of dollars in funding and are just making it rain dollar bills, you will hear that what you need to use is ChatGPT 4. That's the best one. So that's the one that you need to use. Again, understand with what we're going to be doing today, we're going to start interacting with a lot of text. This isn't small questions with small responses. We may get a lot of text coming back from a web page, and depending on what our request is, it may also be creating a lot of text to give us a response. So this is the point when things like token cost start mattering. So as far as tokens are concerned, tokens are the unit of measurement in the ChatGPT world. A token is either a word, a part of a word, or a symbol. 1,000 tokens costs a certain amount of money. They're sold by the 1,000 tokens, and 1,000 words is more or less horseshoes, hand grenades, or nuclear weapons, somewhere around 750 words. So if you do ChatGPT 4, which is the best ChatGPT, as they say, if you do 8,000, 8K context, so basically 750 words times 8, it'll cost you 3 cents per 1,000 tokens input, 6 cents per 1,000 tokens output. If you do up to 32,000 tokens, input is 6 cents per 1,000 tokens, output is 12 cents per 1,000 tokens. So, you're looking at, if you put in 32,000 tokens for the input, right, that could run you almost $2. If you're getting a hell of a lot of output, it might actually run you almost $4, somewhere between $2 to $4 per request, per loop, per time you hit the run button. Do be careful. I've warned you. One of the reasons you'll notice I'm almost always using ChatGPT 3.5 is because this is an educational environment and I don't need the best. I need you to get a JSON response, and I need you to be able to parse that JSON response. That's all I care about, right? Why I like the 3.5 model is for 4K to context. So that's 0.00, so that's a penny, right? It is less than 1/5 of a penny for 1,000 tokens input. It is 1/5 of a penny per 1,000 tokens output, right? So the largest request I can make here is going to cost me less than a penny, right? The largest request I can make in ChatGPT 4 could cost me up to $4. This is going to cost me a penny. For 16K context, You'll notice is about a third of a penny input and almost half a penny output. So again, it gets to be a little bit more expensive, but not that big a deal. Again, for what we're going to be doing today, when you start talking about scraping, these costs matter. When you see all those layoffs, when you see all those return to office mandates as tech employers want to get rid of employees without actually laying them off, just think about this. Just think about this. Do you really need to use ChatGPT 4, or is 3.5 good enough, right? Again, this is going to be important with the task that we're going to be doing today because it is going to be very text intensive. So before we get into the code for the class today, you are going to need your API key. In order to get this, again, you do not go to ChatGPT. You go to openai.com. You're either going to log in or get started. So I'm going to click on the login. I'm already logged in. ChatGPT takes you to the platform. We don't want it. DALL-E, cool. We still don't want it. What we want is this API. We're going to click on this. This is going to bring us up to our API page. If you go over to the left-hand corner, that's where your account is. We can come down here. We can take a look at View API Keys, and this is where you would go. You can see I've had a couple of API keys created. Essentially, I just create a new key, put in a name if I want to put in a name, create the secret key. Oops, what? I have never had it ask me to verify myself before. Use the arrows to change the number of objects until it matches the left image. What? I don't. What? I guess, is that submit? Is that right? I've never seen that. I've literally never seen this before. Okay, so times zero. Oh, so they want zero plants. Oh my golly, what? Okay, so I guess that's 0 plants. Oh my God, so they went. Is that 3? That looks like 4. Is that 3? That's 3, I guess. That was not quite right. Oh, okay. Wait a minute. Try again. Submit 1. This has to be this. This is obnoxious. Hey, ChatGPT people, OpenAI people, what the hell are you doing to me? This is just, if you think this is funny, this is just bad. Okay, let me, you're in this with me together. We're all in this together. What the hell? Verification complete. Anyways, you might have to go through that for some reason to get your secret key. And so here is your secret key. You're going to need to copy this. If you looked in the background, you cannot get your key again. They will give you your key once. You copy this, you put it in a safe place or not safe place. You put it somewhere you can get to again. And then from there, you're going to be using it in your code. So that's where you get the API key from. And again, I've talked about all this kind of stuff in previous classes. So now we get to actually start scraping some web pages that can show you what's going on. So this is the web page that you're going to be dealing with today. You can see this is live on Ars Technica. The heat wave scorching the U.S. is a self-perpetuating monster. Hey, feeling good? Hey, come to Eli the Computer Guy to make yourself feel better. If you're feeling a little sad, come to Eli the Computer Guy to realize, oh no, it's worse than you think. Oh, were you sad before? I'm going to give you something to be sad about. Anyways, if we take a look at this, this is an article. And it's an article with all the crap that goes around a normal article, right? We've got ads over here. We've got ads here. We've got comment sections. Again, there is a shocking amount of crap on this web page that has nothing to do with the article that we care about. So what we're going to do today is we're going to rip out this article. We're going to rip out the text that we care about, and then we're going to send this up to ChatGPT to do things such as give us a summary or to give us, tags for what this particular article should be tagged with. So for today's class, I am using my M2 MacBook Pro just because it's a little bit easier to manipulate the screen than using the Linux machines we normally use. Now, for today's class, nothing should work differently depending on what computer you have. If you have a Windows computer, if you have a Mac, if you have a Linux system, everything here should work the same. You're just going to import the Python modules like you normally would, and hopefully it should work fine. One thing is when I do run the code, I always try to run the code in VS Code. So you see the terminal prompt will open up down here. If you're using a Mac and that fails out, I will tell you, even a super new, brand new, fancy MacBook, for some reason when you install VS Code, it will cache like the Python 3.8 interpreter, even though the Python 3.10, 3.10 is the latest version of Python. And so if you don't clear your interpreter cache on your system, when you go to run this within VS Code, it'll fail out. So that's a little troubleshooting thing. Just Google search, you go and you click clear and you click clear interpreter settings and you'll be fine, right? But anyways, right, we're using our Mac and I'm using my VS Code. Now, before we get into this, I do need a command line for whatever you're going to be using, right? So we have our nice little terminal that shows up here. Again, let me just increase the size really quickly. And so in order to install modules, again, within the Python world, you should know this, but if not, you use pip3. So pip is the package manager for the Python world. We do install and then we do OpenAI. So the first thing we're going to need to do is install the OpenAI module for all this to work. OpenAI is already installed on my machine, and so, you know, it goes through and it seems to be fine. I'm going to clear the screen there. The next thing that we're going to need to do is we're going to need to install Beautiful Soup. So with this, we actually install Beautiful Soup 4. So Beautiful Soup is a Python package that allows you to basically scrape web pages very easily. So instead of doing regex, if you don't know what regex is, you'll learn what regex is. Instead of doing regex, we're going to be using Beautiful Soup. So we do pip3, install a Beautiful Soup, and then 4. Do remember the 4. That's the current version. We hit enter. It's doing the downloading. Successfully installed Beautiful Soup 4. So again, whether you're on Mac, Windows, whatever else, that is what you should see. And I should probably update my version of pip. Okay, so beyond that, we are going to go to our first example here. And this is why I'm going to show you that simply, quote unquote, giving ChatGPT an entire web page is a bad idea, right? So let's take a look at this code for a second. So what we're going to do here is we're simply going to use request. So request is a module that allows us to go out to web pages and basically get all the information in the web page and then do something for it. This is almost whenever you're doing web scraping, there is URL lib. There's another module you might use, but generally you're going to be using requests. This goes out, grabs web page, turns it into a variable value. You get to do with what you want with it. We have OpenAI, because again, we're doing OpenAI today. We have our OpenAI key, because we need that API key. The URL is going to equal that web page that I just showed you. So page equals request module, get the URL. So if you just do this, you get an object back. You just get an object, nothing that you can really use. So by doing .text, it takes the text from that object that you're getting. And so basically the text from URL is going to be gotten by the request module, and that value is going to go to page. So that is just page, right? So URL is going to equal page. And so it's going to be all of it. It's going to go to that page, and it's just going to grab everything. Then we come down here, and this is the ChatGPT code, as you're always going to use. This is what it's going to look like. Response equals OpenAI chat completion create. Model equals 3.5, because I don't want to spend a lot of money. Role system content. You are a journalist. Role assistant content. Write a 100-word summary of this article. That's the kind of thing you can do, right? And you got a really big post. I just want a 100-word summary for whatever you're going to be doing. Role user, basically that's the input, that's the actual question, and so we're going to be feeding the entire page. So everything that comes from that web page, we're going to be feeding to it, and then we're going to do a summary equals what the response is from ChatGPT and other stuff that frankly isn't going to work because it's going to fail out. And let me show you how it fails out. So basically I run this, right? So we're running this code, and what you're going to see down here is that this code failed because when we had requests and we took all the information from that web page and we sent it up to ChatGPT, it came out to 19,243 tokens. So 1,000 tokens, horseshoes, hand grenades, or nuclear weapons, comes out to about 750 words. When you submitted the entire web page up to ChatGPT, what that means is it came out to something like 15,000 words. And I know what you're thinking. Well, that doesn't make sense. It wasn't a book. It wasn't a major article. Why is this web page 15,000 words? Well, the reason it's 15,000 words is if we basically do a right click, we do show page source, we can go and we can see the source of this page. So basically this is all the HTML, this is all the CSS, this is all the JavaScript that's used in order to make this page show up. And what you'll see is there is a lot of text you are not thinking about. Again, all of the CSS right here, you got bodies, again, you got divs, you have so much additional text that goes around everything. So all of this formatting for CSS and JavaScript, this is what takes up something like 14,000 tokens to 14,000 words, when the article that you actually care about is mainly probably only 500 or 600 words. And so again, this is with that system. And why this is important, right? I showed you ChatGPT 4. So thankfully, and we will say thankfully, this was a hard fail. A hard fail is when a system fails, does not continue. What would be worse? Again, 19,000 tokens, right, for this web page. If you looked at the ChatGPT 4 pricing, right, it was what, 3 or 6 cents? I forget, once you get to whatever it is, right? This would probably, if you just sent this web page as it is, this request would literally cost you dollars at a time. Every single page you wanted to summarize, if you did it through a basic request, it would cost you dollars versus the way that I'm going to show you is going to cost you half a cent. All right. And again, that's why how you design systems and architectures is so important to be thinking about. And again, why this failed, why this code failed for us is since I'm using this GPT 3.5 turbo model, this only allows for 4,000 tokens. Since this required 19,000 tokens, that was too much. And so the entire script failed, which again is a good thing. It's a very good thing. So now let's look at this script where we're going to be using the Beautiful Soup module, right? And with this, we're going to go back to that exact same web page, and all we're going to do is we are going to rip out the text that we care about. We don't want 19,000 tokens. We want somewhere around 1,000 tokens worth of text, right? So we take a look at this. We have the import request. So we still need the request. We still need to pull that web page into the script and save it as a variable value. But then we're going to do from BS4. So this does seem a little bit weird, right? We imported the Beautiful Soup 4 module, but when we call it, we do BS4. It is how it is. Import Beautiful Soup. So what we're going to be doing is importing Beautiful Soup. This is what we had before. URL equals that Ars Technica web page. Page equals request.get URL.text. So we're getting the text of the URL with the request module, and we're saving that to the page variable. Now we get to do the fancy stuff with Beautiful Soup. With Beautiful Soup, we have a Beautiful Soup function here. we're going to feed it the page. So that page that we got, so all that text, the JavaScript, the CSS, the actual text we care about, that's in the page variable. So we feed that here, and then we also have to give it a parser value. So one of the interesting things with Beautiful Soup is you can actually use different parsers. So basically, options for what the file is that it's receiving, so that it can try to read it better. So there's an XML parser. There's different types of parsers you can feed it here. For what we're dealing with today, we're just simply going to do the HTML dot parser. But if you start using Beautiful Soup, again, there are other parser options out there that might give you better results depending on the type of web page that you're trying to scrape. But basically, we feed it the page. We tell it what parser we want to use. We use the Beautiful Soup function. The value of that then goes to soup, right? Then here for article, we're going to do soup.find underscore all P. So this is for P tag. You could do find all A for the href tags. You could do find all img for the image tags, H tags, whatever else. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to find everything within the P tag. So if you go over and you actually take a look at that web page, right? So if we go, and we bring this web page up, I'm not going to go into it today because, oh my God, it gets so lost in here. But what you find is that what you actually care about is within the P tags, right? And so that might be something, depending on what web page that you're going to, you may have to figure out what tags things are in. So see, they open up the P tag here. I don't know if you can see this really. This is a bit of a disaster. Like I say, it's a bit of a pain to try to show you this. So we got the H1 tag, heat wave scorching the US. We got the H2 tag, and then CP class byline. That has some things. That closes a P. If we scroll down, basically we're looking for these darn P tags. Give me my P tags. Just a week after, okay, so the P tag opens here, just weeks after a third of the US population was, and here's a href tag, hit with air quality alerts, thanks to the smoke from. There's another href, climate change fueled fires in Canada. So what it's going to do is it's going to go through and it's only going to grab anything within P tags. So if you're dealing with Ars Technica, if you're dealing with most web pages, the content that you actually care about is going to be within those P tags. So let's see, we'll go back here, take a look at this. So article equals soup find all, the P tags. Now when this comes back, this is then going to be a list. So you're going to get a Python list of all the P tags. So P tag 1 is in index 0, P tag 2 is in index 1, P tag 3 is in index 2. It's lists. You should understand how that works by now. All I'm going to do is I'm going to print out on the screen, print the URL. So again, troubleshooting. So I know I verify what URL I'm going to. Then print soup. So, right, soup dot title and then dot get text. So what's interesting here, right, when I do dot get text, what that is going to do is that is only going to give me the text, right? When we took a look at this web page, one of the issues that you run into, right, is you have all like this href stuff. Like look at it, right? Like you have just weeks after and then big ass href. Thanks to smoke, big ass href. You got all this href stuff here. So if what you do is you just simply take everything within the P tags, that is going to clean up your data a hell of a lot more than just sending everything up. But it's not going to be perfect. You're still going to have image tags. You're still going to have hyperlink tags. You're still going to have all of that kind of stuff. So what's cool here is basically with that get text function, it will only get the text of what's within the tags. So we're going to do the title. So whatever the title is, we just want the text. And then for X in article, so article is a list, print X dot get text, so only print the text. So when I run this then, this is what we get. Look at that beautiful text. Oh, so pretty and witty and parsable, right? So this is where I ran it. right? The title, the heat wave scorching the U.S. is a self-perpetuating monster. Ars Technica, front page layout. Again, you do get some additional crap you may have to clean up. You can figure that out. Front page layout, site theme. It gives you the author name here. It gives you the date. And then, just weeks after a third of the U.S. population was hit, the map below shows excessive heat. Obviously, this is all the text. Yeah, you get the point. And so basically, this is what Beautiful Soup allows you to do, is go in and just get that text. I will say, like down here, it does show you a whole bunch of stuff. The material on this site may not be reproduced, distributed, transmitted, cached, or otherwise used except with the prior written permission of Condé Nast. They state that. They state that very authoritatively. Is that legal? Who knows? I don't particularly want to get sued, though. What I do want to... Clear the screen here. Let me close this out. So I type clear somewhere. I get rid of that. So just to show you what's going on, again, with that get text, if I remove the get text, so I'm just going to remove this and do the exact same thing. So now we're just going to print X. So for every value within the article list, we're just going to print out, right? If we don't do that get underscore text and I print this out, you will see you get all the hrefs and images, and like this is what you get if you don't use that get text function, right? So you can actually see the p tag. So this might be useful though, like if you did want to reproduce a website, I'm just saying if you did, right? If you want to do like the equivalent of proxy server, you could literally copy all the information you cared about, even with the tags, and then just put it somewhere else, and it should work pretty good, right? That might be something to think about. But again, if you want the clean data, do make sure to do that .get text, and that will remove all the ref tags and image tags and all that kind of stuff. So now that we have that whole setup, you understand how to use requests, you understand how to use Beautiful Soup, and now we're actually going to use OpenAI to summarize that article, right? Oh my golly, that's 800 words. Man, life is going too fast for me to read 800 words. I want to read 100 words. And so basically, in this particular script, that's what we're going to do. We're going to take that article, and then we're going to ask for a 100-word summary from ChatGPT, because we don't have time for all that Ars Technica wordy word stuff. So with this, it's pretty simple. And again, all we're doing here is we're just marrying the stuff that we've already talked about today. Import the request model, import from BS4, import Beautiful Soup, and import OpenAI. Then we're going to do the API key, as we always do. Then we're going to come down here. The URL is the URL as we had before. Page is going to equal request.get URL.text. Make sure you get that text. Soup is going to be Beautiful Soup, the value that came in for page, HTML parser, as we did before. Again, depending on what page you're dealing with, you might need to deal with a different parser. I'll let you figure out how to do that on Google. Item equals soup.findAllP, so we want everything within p tags. Again, for troubleshooting purposes, we will print out the URL on the screen just so we see it. Title equals soup.title.getText, right? So we're going to get the title, the text of the title, and that is going to go to the title variable value, and then we're going to print out title on the screen. Then we're going to do here is article equals basically nothing, blank, double quotation marks, for X in item, article plus equals. We use an F string and x.getText. So what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be basically recreating the article. So when Beautiful Soup goes through and it reads the variable value that came in through request, the web page that came in through request, it's going to turn everything within those tags into an item on a list. We're now turning that list back into essentially a full string. So what we're going to be actually doing is we're going to be printing this out to a web page to kind of give you the idea of, again, how you would output something. With here, again, we do plus equals. Essentially, we have the first item in the list, and we're going to assign that to article. Second item in the list, we're going to add to article. Third item in the list, we're going to add to article. Fourth item in the list, we're going to add to article. Keeps going till the list is over. We're then going to print out on the screen what that full article is. Now that we have the full article, because again, one thing you have to be thinking about when you're going to be sending variables to ChatGPT, it has to be in a format that ChatGPT can deal with. So we want a full big nasty string, not necessarily a list. Response equals, same thing we've always do. OpenAI, chat completion create. We're using the ChatGPT 3.5 model because I'm cheap. Role. So role is system. This is what is the character? What is the character that the AI is playing? It is playing a journalist. Hey, if journalists get to play it being journalists, I guess an AI can play it being a journalist. AI can't be any worse, can it? Anyways, not going there. Role equals. So this is kind of like what we're asking for. So write a 100-word summary of this article. So we're going to be feeding it an article. We want a 100-word summary of the article. Role user content, and we're going to feed it that article. So that whole article, 800, 900 words. 5,000 words, whatever is going to come through, and we want a 100-word summary of what that article is. We come down here. Again, this is the JSON response. When we talk about JSON, this is a web data format that allows you to send a whole bunch of information. Kind of looks like an array, I guess you could say. So basically, we're going to get the response back at the index of choices, at the index of 0, at the index of message. Content is what we're going to want. So basically, our 100-word summary is going to be here. Again, I've talked about this in previous classes if you don't understand. So summary is going to equal what that content is. We're going to then print out on the screen summary, next line, and then whatever the value of a summary is. Then what we're going to do down here, again, to simulate solving a problem, creating a solution, we're just simply going to print this to an HTML web page. So basically an HTML page. So we can open this up in Firefox, and it's like, look, we created our own web page from somebody else's information. File equals open parse.html. So this is just simply an HTML, just a text file. It's a text file named HTML that has an HTML extension. We're going to call it parse. We're going to open it with W so that it overwrites. File.write, H1, title. So we're basically going to put the title in there. We're then going to close. File equals open, parse.html. So it's append. Then we're going to write what the URL is. Then we're going to write what the summary is. And then we're going to write what the article is. And then we're going to close that file. So we're going to write that we're going to create or recreate the page here. And then we're going to keep adding to it with all of this information. You could probably code this in a different way. Again, as I say, I code like an MCSE NT 4.0. And if you understand that joke, that is very funny. So anyways, this is how we get our 100-page summary, and this is our janky way for turning that into a web page. So with me, I'm then going to, again, click on the run button. We're going to run it, and it is going along. So it printed the entire article. So this is the entire article. And then this is the summary of the article. According to recent data, Apple is dropping support for Intel Macs. Oops. I guess this is I'm sorry. This is an Apple web page. Okay, so it's a different web page. Ars Technica with Mac OS Sonoma, Intel Macs are still getting fewer updates than they're used to. So that's what's going on there. Again, let me just run that again so that we get the information. So instead of getting that wildfired page, this is a page about Intel Macs, because I forgot to verify my URLs before I did this class. So up here, this is the entire page. This is all the text from the page. And down here, we get that summary. According to an analysis of Ars Technica, Apple was released its official support list for Mac OS Sonoma, revealing that Intel Macs released in 2016 will receive about 6 years of Mac OS updates. And that is your summary for you. If we go here, again, we created that parse.html file. I can go to Eli. This is where it got created. Parse.html got created here. I can double click on this. And this is the web page that we created. So how will the last Macs be supported? Or how long will the last Macs be supported? Mac OS Sonoma gives us some hints. Ars Technica. This is the URL that it came from. This is the summary. And this is the entire article. And so when you hear about websites and web publishers and web zines having a hissy fit about AI right now, This is why they're having a hissy fit. I literally just showed you not very many lines of code that allow you to rip out all the text on their page, all the text that matters on their page, have ChatGPT summarize that for you, and that's something that you could use for things like Twitter, right? So with this, I said 100 words, right? So I said 100 words here, which is too long for Twitter, right? If I'm going to be doing Twitter posts, I need something shorter than that. So why don't I say 20? So I can just take this down to 20. Imagine a post put out to Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, whatever else. Let me run this thing. And new analysis reveals that Intel Macs released between 2016 received fewer software updates than previous models. So that's what you get with about 20 words. And I can go here and I can refresh this. So literally, with a little bit of code, I can take everything that Ars Technica did, turn it into something that I can pump up to the social media sites and then try to make money off of their work. And what gets interesting in the AI world and what's going on with technology right now is if one person does that, no big deal. Stop crying, Ars Technica. Just suck it up. Bro, suck it up. Here's the thing. What happens when tens of thousands of people are doing the exact same thing, right? That's when this can turn into a wee bit of a disaster. And now for our final trick for today, we're going to take a little bit of a look at taxonomy. So what is taxonomy? So when we're looking at things like WordPress websites, blogs, the whole nine yards, taxonomy is basically the indexing type system. So categories are part of taxonomy, tags are part of taxonomy, basically ways that you can, tag articles or something so that it makes it easier to search for things or find, material that corresponds to each other. So one of the things that might be very valuable for you as a technology professional is imagine that you're in a development company, you're in a tech company, and you have your employees and they need to be able to research information very quickly, right? They need to be able to find, what functions to use to do certain things in Python. They need to understand, what operating system they should use for certain things. I suppose maybe it matters what graphics card your code runs on. And so one of the things you might be thinking about is you do not want to create new blog posts. You don't want to write new material. You don't want to pay for people to write new material, but you may want to actually be able to index other people's websites better than what they currently have, right? So again, if you're going to the Intel's blog and NVIDIA's blog and Python blog and all that kind of stuff, and basically the information you care about is on those sites, on those platforms, but you're looking for a better way to index that information so that it's easier for your users to get to their sites. You want to send legitimate traffic to their sites. You just need a better way to index their sites. That's what this little code can do. So basically what this does, we have all the same stuff we had before, find p tags, all that kind of stuff. Oops. But what we do down here for the prompt is you're actually going to ask for tags. So for the assistant role, give me 10 tags for this blog post. Return them in a Python list formatted like tag 1, tag 2, tag 3. So basically you're saying I want 10 tags. You're telling it basically what kind of format you want it in, and then because it's ChatGPT and it's not actually intelligent, it's quite stupid actually, you then reiterate what you want with something that looks like a Python list. You then feed it the article, and then what we're going to do down here is tag is going to equal the content that's returned, and we're going to print out the tags on the screen. So let me do this. Now printed out the article for us, and here we go, tags. So Mac updates, Apple Silicon, Mac OS Sonoma, Intel Mac, software updates, Mac models, Apple, technology, computers, journalism, right? So again, imagine, especially if you built this into a script, we're going to do another class on how to use something called feed parser in ChatGPT to basically scrape RSS feeds. Again, another interesting thing that you can do. So imagine if you created a little system to literally just roll through all Intel blog articles, find all the tags in those articles, save it within your system, and then when somebody goes to search in the future and they're looking for specific tags, they're like, oh, I need Mac OS Sonoma and Apple Silicon. They could plug that into your system, and then because all of these articles have been tagged other places, then you could get the URLs for the places that might be talking about what it is that you care about. So again, this is another one of those little party tricks that you can do that might actually be useful for you. I will say again, with this whole ChatGPT isn't necessarily smart. Even with these prompts up here, previously when I first ran this code, so this is like the second time I ran the code, I got the tags, but the first time I ran the code, exact same code, I did not change it at all. I did not change it at all. And this is what it did the first time. Tags. Here are 10 tags for your blog post. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Does that look like a Python list to you? Do you think intelligence, something that was intelligent, would think that this was a Python list? No. But ChatGPT isn't artificial intelligence. It's a large language model, and those two things have nothing to do with each other. So again, this is one thing to be thinking about. Again, when we're interacting with any of these APIs, is understanding what the response is going to look like. If I get a Python list back from ChatGPT, that is very easy to parse and deal with. If I get this horse crap back from ChatGPT, the code that I wrote to deal with a list might fail out entirely. So again, that's the kind of fun stuff you get to deal with when you start creating your own code. I'm just showing you what can happen. So there you go. There's a bit of a practical application for actually using the ChatGPT API. And I think it is actually something that could be very useful for you, especially if you're in a company that has a lot of documents within your own intranet or within your own website, right? There are a lot of companies out there that have invested a lot of money over the years in documentation. And one of the problems you get to is, once you start getting like 1,000 blog posts or 5,000 blog posts, at a certain point, the actual usability of that information becomes a problem. One of the cool things that you can use ChatGPT for is trying to extract value out of that old content that has already been created. So again, if you have manuals on how to perform certain tasks, again, institutional knowledge documents, that blogs, those types of things, that might be something that's very useful for ChatGPT. And this is the type of thing that you really have to think about. I've talked about this a lot with folks with ChatGPT and large language models over the past few months. Everybody thinks this is artificial intelligence. It's not. It's just not intelligent. But one of the things that I think about with this is that it's very good for, again, something called regex, irregular expressions. So what regular expressions are is you use them in code to try to pull out value from things. So we use Beautiful Soup in order to be able to pull out the text from a web page, but you could use something called regex to try to do the same thing. It would just be a much larger pain in the butt, right? When you actually do the whole regex, you write all the regex out, there's a lot that goes into it. It has to be precise. You have to know exactly what you're doing. And if the information going in is ever so slightly different than you're expecting, your regex script isn't going to work properly. One of the things I think is really fascinating with ChatGPT is simply the idea of basically auto regex. And again, this is where I get frustrated with people talking about technology, because auto regex is awesome. That's awesome. Like being able to dump just a tremendous amount of information into ChatGPT and have it respond with something that has any value, that's amazing. That is world-shaking wonderful. Is it intelligence? No, it's not intelligence though, right? And so I think that's one of the things to really be thinking about with this ChatGPT. Again, the large language models using these AI APIs is how can you actually extract value for your corporation and organization. It's not about sitting there and cracking beer and talking about all the amazing things that AI can do. is like, yeah, no, but seriously, build something that returns value to your company. If you can't build something that returns value to your organization, it is, by definition, worthless technology. So one of those things to think about. Again, what I showed you how to do today, we used Beautiful Soup. So requests is the module that allows you to go to web pages. You can pull that entire web page in, do with it as you will. The problem is you're going to pull in the JavaScript, you're going to pull in CSS, you're going to pull in the Ahrefs and all that kind of stuff. You probably don't want that. We used Beautiful Soup today. So Beautiful Soup goes in, and again, you feed it what tag you want. Do you want all the hyperlinks? That might be useful for you. Do you want all the P tags? Whatever, all the image tags. You just plug that in, and then you pull all that out. That puts it into a list, and then you can deal with that list as you see fit. Again, to be clear, you can actually use regex. So, right, when the document comes in, it gets saved, by the request module into that variable value. You could use regex. So again, regular expressions, but I could hit myself in the head with a hammer too. We can do lots of stuff. Again, if you're going to use regular expressions might be useful. Again, that would be something to be thinking about if you're dealing with a content management system that has been specifically designed for your corporation. Let's say you work for a government agency or a large corporation. At some point, somebody built you folks some kind of massive content management system. So you're not using WordPress, you're not using Drupal, you're not using some kind of off-the-shelf thing, you're using some kind of customized thing. Because you're using something customized, custom things might be quirky. And so something like Beautiful Soup might not actually work for you in that particular situation. You need to use some other module, or God help you, actually use regex in order to deal with that. But Beautiful Soup should deal fine. Again, with almost all normal websites, at least. I showed you how to use the ChatGPT, again, to pull out the summary or whatever else. That's pretty simple. And then I showed you how to do something like pull out tags. Again, if you're looking for specific product names, proper nouns, that type of thing, that can be a very useful thing that ChatGPT can do for you. The one warning that I will give you is even when you get really damn specific, sometimes ChatGPT gives you what ChatGPT wants to give you. I want a Python list. This is how it should be formatted. Here you go. That's not a Python list. And as I showed you, like you may get 99 times out of 100 where it returns values how they're supposed to look in the format that you're expecting. Every once in a while, you might get some garbage. And so again, for your code, you just got to think about how you're going to be dealing with that. So anyways, yeah, there you go. People say I'm not excited about ChatGPT. I am excited about it. Again, automatic regex is awesome. It's just not artificial intelligence. Anyways, as always, I enjoy teaching this class and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.